Hey folks, it's Ben. We're here with another exciting video. I got to kind of move along on this one, so we won't be lingering too long. Here's my 1998 Chevy full-size pickup. It's a C1500 Silverado, and the issue we're having is dealing with these. These are my oil cooler lines. I've got two of them, obviously. This one looks like the lower, this one looks like the upper, but don't quote me on that yet. And long story short, mine are leaking quite a bit where the rubber meets the metal on both ends, so we're leaking quite a bit. So I think it's time to finally change those. You need two hoses, and you also need these. These are actually what this long straight end actually clicks into by the oil filter. So we're going to be changing that in a second. Hey folks, it's Ben. I'm here with, hopefully it's going to be a short video. Here I've got my 1998 full-size Chevy pickup. It's a C1500 Silverado. It's two-wheel drive with a 350, but it's got one particular problem. Easier to kind of show you if we pan all the way over here and show you these. These are my oil cooler lines, and the ones that are on the truck are extremely leaky here and here. They might even be factory, but the truck's got about 200,000 kilometers on it, and they're just to the point where I don't really feel safe driving them anymore, so we're going to go ahead and change them. The parts you need, the parts I need anyway, are the two hoses. There's essentially an upper and a lower, in and out, and then we also have these adapters which actually screw on to the oil filter mount, and then the end of that actually clicks into somehow. I haven't figured that part out yet, but let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go take a look at the truck. The place to look for these is actually on the driver's side of the radiator. That's where our oil cooler lives, inside the radiator, of course. As I shine a light down here, hopefully I can hit them. Yeah, there it is. See that really greasy line that my flashlight's hitting, but my camera's not focusing on? There we go. That is the oil cooler line. It actually connects in two spots. One right here. That's it right here that you see. And it's just the threaded connection in there. And that looks like where maybe that rubber thing goes. And then below it on the radiator too, if I can get my flashlight out of the way, there's another one that's down there. And they both kind of pass. See those? See all the oil on those lines right there? Yeah, that's exactly where they go through. And then they go straight to the engine, to the oil filter. I'll show you underneath. So here we are on the driver's side of the motor. That's where the oil filter is, and you can see these two lines that come out. Those are the two fittings we're going to have to change, and then the lines as they come along. And they're pretty metal all the way down, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of oil everywhere, and that's coming from those lines. And they kind of come down the center there, and yeah, they're just a real mess. Oh, there they are. So they're very gone. So we're going to pull the top one out. And we're going to get our oil pans out because they're going to be dripping oil everywhere. But we'll try to take the top one out first and look at it and double check everything to make sure we do have the right parts to complete this job. And that's actually a 20 millimeter, which I don't actually have a wrench for, so I'm going to have to use an adjustable one here. Thankfully, it shouldn't be in too tight. You need to get it on here so I have a little room to turn it. It's a little tight by the washer bottle. There we go. There we go. Broke a little bit, so now it should be pretty easy. And once you break it, you should be able to do it by hand. It's really only holding this hose against the O-ring that's in there. And I should be able to wiggle it out. We'll see if I can do that and have light and should film it. That was fairly easy, but notice the O-ring didn't come out with it. That's still in the cooler part, so we'll have to fish that out because you do get a new one. If you're doing, okay, let's focus on that, please. If you're doing them one at a time like me, there's actually a zip tie way down here. It's hard to see on the camera because it's so dark, to keep the lines together. And I'm just going to go ahead and snip that off so that I can get this one line pulled out and hopefully identified, and then we'll go from there. Back under the car, we've cut our zip tie. There's one other bracket, and I've got it highlighted by the flashlight right here. We undid the top line from the radiator already, and the bottom line's still there. But there's a plastic clip that holds the two lines together. Looks like it bolted to the frame, so it doesn't move in relation to the radiator. But I was hoping it's held on by a nut, but it's actually held on by a little clip. I'll show you. If I back up a little bit, you can see how it's obviously been misting because it's everywhere. I also have a power steering pump leak too, so that's why that one up there is wet. But let's get that bracket out. Plop it through its hole. Now we'll just get it out of the way. Hopefully through the power of editing I can zoom in on that. There's a little pin there that's holding that bracket on, that's holding our oil lines going through. Hope to get just a pair of pliers in there and squeeze it, push it out. That should release our lines. Next would be after the oil filter. So just pushing on it with my hand, see how that's just more of a button. It's either broken or something, but it's not much to come out. It does wrap around the hoses though, so it's going to make single removal kind of a pain in the butt. So I might actually have to break them both and take them all out at one time. That kind of sucks, but we'll see how it goes. So we're back under the driver's side of the motor. Here are the two cooler lines coming in. Our new ones come with Teflon tape, so that answers that question if we have to put Teflon tape on it. Now, in theory, the type of seal that it is, I can just turn these off and take the whole assembly out, which is exactly what I'm going to do. There is a tool, however, very similar to the fuel line release tool I have for my Caprice wagon, which I never filmed, was you can actually put it on the line and then push it in, and it would actually push the little teeth out, and you could pull the tube out. But long story short, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and back both these out. And we're going to spill oil everywhere, so definitely have an oil catch pan down here to get it all. What I've had to do is actually use a pair of pliers to hold the line from turning. Otherwise it's trying to spin all at once, and that's not really working for me, which is good because that means it was a good seal. And the bolt is actually a 22 millimeter. Once again, I don't have a good wrench for that. So, and when we put them on, we'll put them on before the line, so it'll be easy. This one's really coming out easy now. Now with one out of the way, I should be able to get to the second one. So now they're both free and clear, and we've got one more to unattach, and that's on the lower part of the radiator, and we'll just let those drain in that pan because that's messy. You can have the peasants move chicken feed out of the trunk of the Grand Prix too. Or wherever.
Biggest pain once again is reaching it. This is not the best wrench for this, clearly, but it's not in very tight. It should pop right off. It'd be fun trying to get these back in, I guess, is the issue. Same as the top, just pop off and loosen, hopefully by hand, a little wiggling. And I could have used a thread lubricant or a screw loose or something like that on these too, but I didn't for some reason. I need a little bit more help with that one. It wiggles a bit, but I hope it. And this should let the contents of the cooler out, I'm guessing. I got another catch pan down there, but there's nothing there. But we still left the rubber gasket in there, so heads up for that as well. Okay, let's get this old one out and take a look at it.
So here are our old lines. Taking them out was just easy. You just pull the fronts down, then you just pull it out from there, and everything should be loose and free. Here's our bracket that was holding it to the frame. Looking for fail points, this would be where we're getting leakage. It's all the way down the line here. Same on this side. Worse down here where these are. It's just really, it's starting to seep really bad, and it's just getting oil and everything, and this truck drives in the gravel, so it just creates a mud, and it's just made underneath the truck gross. So we'll get these lines swapped out, and we'll have new shiny ones in there. The longer one is obviously the top one, and the shorter one's on the bottom. We're replacing, you technically wouldn't have to replace these, but I did, because while you're here, they're about 10 bucks a piece. Why not, right? And there's a rubber in there, that seal, that I knew I could spin these and not worry about it. But if you spin them when they're dry like that or installed, you could damage that, and now you're creating another leak point. So just replace them, it's cheap. And we can put these in next, install them and torque them slightly correctly, and then when we install our lines, they just go in and go click, and you're done. So we'll put a little bit of oil on the end there. We'll talk about that when we get there. And then these new ones come with an actual little rubber part that covers this section here, so you don't get grub and dirt into the, looks like a copper, kind of just a wire that grips it and keeps it in there. Just a little something. It's got little protectors that this one doesn't have. So we'll take this bracket off, which, yeah, it's just a pop out. And yeah, see, that's all. And get this essentially thrown away. Get the new ones prepped. And we'll put, I think that's going in next. We'll put the little ends in first. But there it is. That's gross, and part of the reason why my truck is bad. The power steering is also leaking, but that's not a leave you beside the road type problem. That's a I've lost my power steering type problem. This would leave you beside the road if one of these popped and drained all your oil onto the ground. So let's keep on trucking. Before I get too far ahead of myself, here is our part that goes against the radiator, and it does have this little ring here, which is a seal for that against the radiator. And we need to make sure the other ones are out. Neither of them came out with our old one, so that means we've got to, I won't be able to film this, and I apologize for that. I'm gonna have to use a little cocaine mirror, and we're gonna have to go in, and you just need either a small screwdriver or something, and you got to get in there
And like I said, my cameras are gonna suck for this, so I can't really shoot it and leaking oil anyway. But there is a little rubber O-ring in there you gotta dig out so we can put our new one in and create that seal, and both of them have one. So get that little rubber ring out before we actually kind of just dry this off and clean it up, and she'll be good on this side. The bottom is also just kind of a clean. Anything that gets stuck in there is going in your oil, so you wanna make sure you get that cleaned out a little bit better. Okay, here's a warning for you. How about that? So we have our two rings that didn't come out, but they're very hard and flat. But they happen to be green in this case. But notice how they've taken the shape on of the taken on the shape of the hole, so you want to make sure you get it. Notice it's green. I'm guessing that might be a little corrosion. I'm not entirely sure, but double check to make sure you get them out. If you don't see them on the hose, they are of decent size, right? So you should be able to notice them. I was a little confused because on this one right here, you see there's a little bit of not focusing. There's a little bit of something there. It's like, oh, is that it? But no, that's a little bit of it, but that's not it entirely. So make sure you grab those out. That way our new one has lots of... Is he going to focus on anything now? Probably not. That way you don't leave anything behind. These actually look pretty good. I'm not too worried about them. These are sealed with Teflon tape. So you just get them started in right, and we should be okay. We'll do the bottom one first, since that seems the only way we can tighten this one. And because they were on pretty tight, we'll go ahead and sink them in pretty tight as well. Again, we're at 22 millimeters. But I have an adjustable wrench because I don't have one with me that big. I'm not gonna go, I don't actually know the correct torque spec, but I'm not gonna go crazy. I think this is cast aluminum and I don't want to break anything either. As long as we get it tight enough, I think we're good. We're not dealing with super high pressure, just super hot oil. And that feels about right. The tape will help with the seal. It's mostly in, I'm happy with that. Let's move on to the next one and then we can run our lines back. Everything is so dusty in here. I don't want to get any dirt in anything. that feels about tight enough. I was thinking I could also use a socket for these, but I don't think there's enough clearance between them to actually get a socket on them. So that one looks like it's good too. So there we go. There's that part. I'm gonna take a break for lunch because it's lunchtime, and then I'm gonna go and we'll put some tape on the ends of the next ones. I'm thinking just to keep dirt from getting in them, and we'll click them in. Yeah, that feels good. Cool. So we got these two guys done. Also want to wipe this oil off when we do for once we seal them up. We'll be able to check for oil leaks real quick because there won't be any new oil there. Okay, so lines are next.
The adapter's on now. What I've done is I've taken just some painter's tape and tape the ends of our lines. I think these lines are after the oil filter, so any contaminants that gets in these lines will go to your motor, and that's not great, right? So I got them taped up, and I'm gonna put them in the same way they came out, which means I'm just gonna go and probably, I'll see if I can film it or not. I'll set the camera over there maybe. But just put them in and then bring the lines up to the radiator, and we'll go from there. Not sure which side I'm going to tie in first, but we'll get it all locked in, long story short. And I got to clean this up a little bit more. This will be the part that goes to the frame. I'll clean it up, and then once the lines are kind of in place, that's when we'll go ahead and click it in. And of course, don't forget these little rubber connectors. They need to go down here at the end because they're going to protect our little adapters towards the oil filter side. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I had shot a segment that showed me putting the lines in under the car, but then the camera died and I didn't know it yet, and so here we are. So I've since gone and picked up, this is my top line, obviously, and I have my ring installed already, don't forget that. And this is aluminum, and I'm not sure if the other one, the factory one, was aluminum or not. Anyway, it seems like it's pretty, it wants to gouge, it really does. So because the threads are not sealing, they just push, I'm gonna lightly coat at least the beginning of these with a little bit of thread lubricant, just because I want them to start nice, and I want them to go in nice, and I don't want them to bite and chew on their way out. Now, I don't want to crank this thing too tight either. I don't want to totally wreck that O-ring, but this is going to help me a lot. I'm going to put a little bit behind as well, just because that surface there pushes against that aluminum tube, and it's going to wreck crap. If something goes, just a little lubricant makes everybody happy. Now, the way the hoses are bent, they point backwards, right? So we're gonna have to lightly turn it around. So I'm gonna grab it, and it's gonna spin it a little bit. That's okay. And I put it back in the hole. I kind of get the tube in, like so. And hopefully, it's not gonna be, I can't see how square it is, just because the upper radiator hose is in the way from this one. So it looks like the fitting's in, but this thing just loves to jam up. You know, like it won't let me start the threads like a happy guy. Yeah, like it's in, right? Like the O-ring's against it and we're good. But I need to get these threads to hold it in, and I just gotta, I don't want to wreck it. I don't want to cross thread it. It looks kind of square, but I don't want to be that bad guy who just cranks it. It's really easy here. I think I got her started. That's what I wanted. So now I can wrench on it with a little bit more confidence that it's not gonna cross thread my
connection here. Nope, I don't have it. This was always my worry. It's not getting bolts out. It's always getting bolts in. So I'm going to get a little more generous with the thread lubricant, just because it's being a pain in the butt. Our O-ring's still there, so that's cool. I put that jar somewhere, and it must have been close, but be gosh if I know where. Here it is. Everything is just binding up on everything, so let's just put that underneath and on the front lip there. The O-ring still looks good. Threads are still wet. Let's turn her back in, try again. Without touching everything. I think I've got it now, but I said that before, didn't I? If my light could shine on the thing, that'd be great. Yeah. Nope. Definitely pointing down. I think I've definitely got it because I've hand threaded it in quite a ways. I see it going in, and that's how it came out. I think I just had it pointing up, and I didn't realize it. See, this angle makes it really hard, but she's definitely in now. And it being so tight does not help in the hole here to try to get a wrench on it. This is where having a 20 would be great. The only 20 I have is actually a closed end one, so I can't. I definitely have it in, but I think that's that. My hose cable looks right. And this is tightened up. And that's all snug. So I think we're good on that side. So there's that, I guess. We'll find out soon enough when we
start it up and flood the whole thing with oil. If it squirts out, we know we kind of botched it. If we do, that's more of a pain in the butt repair than I really care to do. And another common video on YouTube is to just bypass the cooler, which I could probably get away with on this truck too. I don't tow much with it. So, but that one's good. Impossible to film the bottom one, so I'm going to do that one, and then I'll meet you under the motor, and we'll get the other sides going. That should be a click in, and then hopefully I can get to the dump today, because it's starting to get a little late. Well, that sucked. Top one's easy, right? It's that bottom one that's just, because I can only fit one arm down there, and there's pressure on it. So once you do it more than twice, you get it, because I had to actually redo the top one. Yeah, once you figure out by wiggling it back and forth, and you can hand thread it for a couple turns, and then you're good to use a wrench. And it just took a bit. So heads up for that. I really pondered taking out this faux battery tray for diesel or whatever it's in here for, to get some more clearance to get that down one. But I finally get grabbed, and we're good to go. So we got the top one tightened down, and we got the bottom one tightened down, and your hoses are that way. So next we're going to double check that they're running the right way and go to the back again. I said that before, but I said it again. Does it matter if these go backwards? I don't actually think it does. Check valve anywhere. Anything. In hindsight, I would take a marker and mark T for top. That way you're not confused by them. So the one on the middle is lower, I presume. Yeah, I presume I put these on right. But you never know. The lower one, and that's the one on the outside is the one in the middle, lower. Is lower. Hopefully the last and final step, mostly the oil part anyway. Now, here's a tip for you. If you had a marker and you wrote down an M or an L and a T for lower and top, that would make things a lot easier for sure. Because now I have to wiggle lines to see, like, I know the one in the middle is the one that is on the lower, and that's this guy. So that's the lower guy. So it goes in the lower hole, but you wouldn't have to do that if I just marked it. And we got to get it to come around a little bit too. It's a little bit of an angle. Needs to be a little bit more straight down the motor. Because while these don't mind being at an angle, they do want to be fairly straight on, and these are not even close actually. So let's figure out what's going on with that. Oof. Kind of just has to do with how they run through the truck at the moment, because they're kind of a little cockeyed. And now we're putting that nice dirt in our car. So if I grab it from the front and move it over here, push it up a little bit, it should go click. And this is where I'd mentioned a little oil wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings. And I should probably do that for the other one. I completely forgot to on this one. I think she's in on that one. And then on this one, let's get some oil on that.
this. Might make it help it click in. I'm hoping for a click. I might need to actually take the spring out. I never thought of that. And put it back in. That seems like she's in there on that one. This one does not seem as friendly. Seems like I'm bumping into something on the cross member here. Oh, I'm tied into the engine mount. There we go. Like this one definitely seems like she's in. Definitely in. But this one less so. I'm not sure why. Except I oiled it. Once again, angles are playing with me here too. Can't quite see it quite right. I don't think this other one is in either. I just think it's kind of bound in there. I thought this would be the easy part. Better go check my, oh, I knocked you over anyway. Well, what I did wrong is that I thought they could just clip in, but apparently they cannot. You actually have to pull the copper clip out, apparently. Push it in and then put the clip back in. So, just playing with the old ones, if this one will even come out. And it's just a little pull clip. We can hopefully just leave that one on and give it a little wiggle. I thought it's gotta be in a pain. I guess I gotta get it all out. So in my rush to get this done, I made an assumption that wasn't true. I thought I could just push the pipe into these adapters without a problem because they're tapered on the end, but you can't. You actually have to pull the clip out, then put the pipe in, then put the clip back in. Because I'm trying to get these guys in and they're just not participating, but as soon as you take the clip out, it goes all the way in, which is exactly how it's supposed to go. And then you come in and you take the clip and you put it in. And I didn't know that, so whoops. 'Cause I'm like, these are not going in for crap. It's not hard to take the clip out, just use a little set of needle picks, and they're not hard to put in, like so, but you do have to take them out before the line goes in. It just goes in, then you put the clip on, and it's good to go. And you can take this little rubber thing, cover the whole thing up, hopefully, and now that'll keep that protected and hidden, so the next guy will be like, yeah, I wonder what's going here. Anyway, so I gotta pull this one out now, and then I can push my line in, and then the last bit's making sure the front end's secure so we don't hit anything up front there. Then we'll be good to go, and I'll be a happy man. I can go to the dump. I think I still got time. So underneath, I think we're good. My little clip kind of broke on my little bracket there that holds the lines apart. So I ended up zip tying it to the metal bracket itself. So we'll have to revisit that. But that should hold it. There was another zip tie up here that was holding the lines together. But with the new lines, they seem to be fairly happy. They come out and then they turn out and over to the connection here. They're not rubbing anything. They're just lightly brushing against that, but their plastic sheathing's keeping them safe. So I think we're mostly good to go. We'll fire it up and give it a test, and I gotta go because it's dump time, right? So I hate to rush a job for just going to the dump, however, so we'll take our time and go next weekend is my guess. But let's go ahead and fire it up, see if it leaks. Not expecting anything crazy, but I will expect the oil pressure to take an extra second to build up. We'll point right on that gauge in the middle there. And survey says, here we go. So there's the oil pressure. The oil's going through the engine right now, so that's pretty cool. Jiggle, jiggle, as maybe some bubbles are pushed through. Tough to say. Okay, so let's roll the window down so I don't accidentally lock myself out. Got my flashlight, so we'll edit this part out. Still underneath. Yes. It's windy down here. Okay. Got our flashlights. Let's check it out. Nothing going on there. I don't know if you can tell, but there's nothing going on here. That is windy. I gotta get rid of that fan. I don't know why I'm running it. I live in Canada, for heaven's sakes. And then you probably can see better than I will. I didn't wipe any of the oil off. Up over here either. So we're looking pretty good. So with that, running an actual hot oil test, but we're at the highest oil pressure we're going to be at. It'll go down as it gets warmer. That's how you change your oil cooler lines on my truck. Awesome. I'll leave the outro, which I'll film in a second. And
yeah, see you guys later. Guys, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Please subscribe to my channel, Turbo231, for more exciting videos. And check out my Patreon page. There'll be a less edited version of this video, plus other less edited versions. It's not necessarily that they're better, they're just less edited. And you can check that out. I think it's like $1 a month if you were gonna go, so that's pretty cool too. And you guys have a good day.